Shabbat Shalom. I'm sure you all know the Rashi near the beginning of this week's Parsha, Parshat Noach, where he brings the disagreement among our sages as to why the Torah specified that Noach was a tzaddik b'dorotav, in his generations. One says it's to praise him. In his own generation, which was a generation full of corrupt people, he was a tzaddik, he was righteous. If he had lived in a generation of righteous or good-doing people, he would have been stand out even greater as a tzaddik, as a righteous person. But the other opinion is that it's to his detriment, it's deprecating. It means that in a generation where everyone is so corrupt and so morally perverse, he stands out as someone who's righteous. But if he had lived in a generation of normal people, not to mention a generation of righteous people like Abraham, he would not have stood out so much as a tzaddik. I've always been wondered about that midrash. It's true that the midrash, like so many others, is based on what seems to be a superfluous word, b'dorotav, even in the plural, in his generations. But still, why take it in a direction that puts Noach in a bad light? What's behind that approach? But when we look at the Parsha, it actually makes sense, because in his generation and the generation before the flood, when Noach is singled out by God and told to build the ark and save humanity and save creation, he stands out as a tzaddik. But after the flood, when he's actually the only one left and he's all by himself, he shows a very different side of his personality. He gets drunk, he exposes himself, and he gets angry and curses not only his son, who apparently did something horrible, but his grandson, who as far as you know did nothing. So there seems to be good reason to suspect that Noach had this other side to his character as well. And in fact, it's quite clear, people who look closely at these things, that Chazal, as a rule, do not make tzaddik, do not amplify, intensify his personality as one of the righteous people and great prophets that should be emulated. However, and there are many explanations for this and many other views, and the story has been taken in different directions and different traditions. But the one the midrash that seems to me to make the most sense, at least have packed the greatest moral lesson, is the one that views the two sides of the story, the two parts of the story, not as displaying different sides to Noach's character, but as a chronological development, describing how he was at one stage of his life and at another. In the first stage of his life, when he was younger, he is called a tzaddik. But afterwards, after the flood, when he comes out, he becomes ish adamah, a man of the earth, a man of earthy or dirty type qualities as well. And the midrash goes on to contrast this with Moshe Rabbeinu, where the opposite holds. He's called at first Ish Mitzri, just a simple Egyptian citizen, but at the end, Ish Elohim, a person who has reached almost a divine character. And I think that the moral lesson here is clear, but we should remember that it's a double lesson. We'll all, of course, jump on the model of Moshe Rabbeinu, someone who starts out as simple Ish Mitzri and ends up as Ish Elohim, and take from this encouragement that, we should always strive to move upper and upper among the spiritual path. But we should also not forget the example of Noach, who starts out as a tzaddik tamim and falls down to become ish adamah. And no matter how far along the path we may be or may think we are or people tell us we are, we should always remember that, you can fall. And you fall hard, and when you fall, it's not easy to get up again. So we have a double lesson from this midrash for our parsha. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.